Amandla. Amandla. Awethu. And thank you very much, Program Director and Deputy Chairperson of the NEC Subcommittee on the International Relations, Comrade Supra Maumapilu, First Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Nomvula Mugonyani, in the absence, Country Director of Frederick Ebert Foundation in South Africa, Comrade Catherine, members of the National Executive Committee present, of the Alliance present, especially the National Treasurer of COSATU, leaders of our leagues, the ANC Youth League, Women's League, and the Veterans League, members of the Intelligentsia and members of the Diplomatic Corps, comrades and fellow South Africans. It is with a great sense of honor and privilege to close this colloquium on progressive internationalism, jointly hosted by the ANC and FES, and to welcome the resolutions taken in the declaration. As we live here today, we will continue to be confronted by a world that now more than ever needs what the Freedom Charter called for 70 years ago, in that there shall be peace and friendship. The Freedom Charter went on to insist on the principles of self-government and self-determination. The peace of the world was conceived at the end of the year as premised on the respect of the sovereignty of each nation state, underpinned by the United Nations Charter. In our case, the Freedom Charter went on to state that all nations should respect the rights and sovereignty of other nation states, therefore amplifying the universal principles, among others, entailed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Likewise, comrades, the Freedom Charter declared that international disputes should be settled by negotiation and not by war. We are proud that these progressive internationalist principles of the Freedom Charter remain relevant even to this very day, given what is happening particularly in the Middle East and even here on our continent. Thus, the view of the ANC is that the founding principles of the Freedom Charter must continue to be our contribution as a perspective and vision on a country and a world in which there is respect for the right to national sovereignty of all peoples and nations, and the pursuit of world peace and friendship and not wars. As the ANC-led government of national unity, we remain committed to a better Africa, freed from the shackles of underdevelopment and the legacy of colonialism. As such, we will continue to advance our progressive internationalism and solidarity around the world. As President Ramaphosa said, we shall not be bullied into contradicting these fundamental human rights principles. And of course, we seek to achieve this through sound negotiations and mutual respect of all nations. We are therefore grateful that the FES has partnered with the ANC in this historic week, wherein we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter. This is an ongoing act of solidarity spanning many decades. The ANC's international relations is shaped by certain principles which have evolved since its formation in 1912. Among others, these principles include Pan-Africanism. I saw somebody there saying that away with Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism, comrades, a philosophy that emphasizes the unity, dignity, and shared destiny of African peoples, both on the continent and in the diaspora. Anti-imperialism, a steadfast commitment to resist all forms of neocolonialism, unilateralism, and the domination by external powers. Human rights, a rules-based system, and international law. International solidarity, standing in solidarity with oppressed peoples of the world, championing social justice, and working towards international solidarity, standing in solidarity with oppressed peoples of the world, championing social justice and working towards a world order rooted in equality, such as those in Cuba, Western Sahara, and Palestine. This includes the call for political freedom and democratization in Eswatini, peaceful resolution of conflict and multilateralism. As the Freedom Charter states, resolution of international disputes through negotiation, not war, and a non-alignment. Concretely, national conferences of the ANC have operationalized these principles through 5 pillars. 1, building a better Africa and a better world. 2, party-to-party, intra-party multilateral relations. 3, transformation of global governance. 4, policy development. And 5, solidarity and campaigns. It is here that this colloquium is important for another reason. As the ANC throughout the country, as we prepare for its National General Council at the end of the year, ANC members, branches, and communities will have to reflect on these 5 pillars of the international relations and resolutions of conference. ANC branches, and as a result, South Africans in general, will have to reflect on the imperative roles that progressive internationalism, together with Pan-Africanism, international and continental solidarity have played in the political, economic, and ideological ethos of the African National Congress since its formation. At the 55th National Conference held 3 years ago in 2022, the ANC recommitted itself to the progressive international revolutionary movement and emphasized that it understands itself as an integral part of this movement in order to liberate humanity from the bondage of imperialism and neocolonialism. In 2022, National Conference went on to indicate that, quote unquote, progressive global forces must ensure that countries in the global south are not marginalized, exploited, or left behind. Africa will also continue to insist that the destiny of our continent is in our hands. At the same time, our organization and country, together with partners and countries on the continent through the African Union, should be able to maximize its contributions to multilateral institutions such as the United Nations, guided by progressive internationalism. Progressive internationalism, comrades, it could be argued, is a radical perspective of international relations that the liberation movement developed out of the struggle for liberation. It is born out of its interaction with fellow liberation movements throughout the world and international solidarity movements. It is radical in that it entails opposition to the perpetuation of the legacy of global imperialism, manifest in the global power asymmetry, the dominance of the global north over the global south and the world, as well as structural global inequality and poverty. Progressive internationalism envisages a just, equitable, non-racial, non-patriarchal, diverse, democratic, and equal world system. It requires the building of alliances and solidarity with progressive forces in the South and North fighting for similar objectives in world affairs. The expansion of the international solidarity pillar of the anti-apartheid struggle after the burning of the liberation movements and the incarceration of its top leadership in the 1960s was a critical moment in the history of the global progressive movement. Anti-apartheid solidarity movements mushroomed all over the world, helping to place the South African struggle on the world map and connecting it to the other global struggles. Progressive internationalism is a radical perspective of international relations that the liberation movement developed out of the struggle for liberation. In the 2017 discussion document, the ANC notes that progressive internationalism, we quote, envisages a just, equitable, non-racial, non-patriarchal, diverse, democratic, and equal world system, close quote. It requires the building of alliances and solidarity with progressive forces in the South and North fighting for similar objectives in the world affairs. It also requires bold and militant advocacy of fundamental transformation of the global balance of forces, a radical restructuring of global governance, and a progressive global movement in which the ANC's posture is that of a revolutionary liberation movement, committed to finish the work entrusted to it by history since 1912. Given the contemporary balance of forces globally, what then is the role of the ANC and progressive internationalism in this context? Firstly, the ANC must build a better Africa. A prosperous, stable, and peaceful Africa is what is needed in order to ensure Africa's renaissance. This entails, among others, strengthening of continental institutions and leadership, consolidate African governance, and making sure that Africa is at peace. Currently, we observe more than 200 militia groups active on the continent. The silencing of the guns is not making any significant headway. Implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement must also be high on the agenda to ensure growth and prosperity on the continent. A multipolar world is the only way forward, and this must be governed by the principles of progressive internationalism. The North-South dialogue must be maintained and encouraged. Economic diplomacy must be pursued, but it must be undergirded by fairness and equality, and without compromising our core pillars of progressive internationalism as mentioned earlier. The ANC must continue to maintain its progressive internationalist posture of active non-alignment in global affairs, especially where great powers have conflicts. The increasing salience of active non-alignment in world affairs in general, and in Latin America and Africa in particular, is thus due to the rise of geopolitics as the driving force with great power, competition at its core. Last year was notable for the large number of elections being held globally. There were more than 100 countries that held elections, and they included 8 of the 10 most populous countries and more than half the world's population. Within this geopolitical context, strengthening progressive internationalism becomes ever more relevant and important if we want to build a more just, equitable, safe, inclusive, multicultural, multi-civilizational, and multipolar global order premised on the principles of human rights, the rule of law, and a rules-based order. The ANC and all progressive internationalists must also critically reflect on what the global South is experiencing, which includes fractures and tectonic shifts, as well as the rise of conservative neo-colonial forces in some countries of the South. The extent to which institutional vehicles for progressive internationalism, such as the Socialist International, Non-Aligned Movement, G77 plus China, BRICS plus, and others can maintain a semblance of ideological cohesion in the face of the re-emergence of imperial forces must become a subject for debate and critical reflection. How we respond to this and how we plan to help rebuild unity and cohesion is crucial to how we continue to advance progressive internationalism in a rapidly changing world. Where once the liberation movements collectively shaped the destiny of Southern Africa, many now face reduced support, intensified domestic challenges, and electoral setbacks. Despite Africa's rhetorical commitments to Pan-Africanism, The core of genuine progressive mobilization remains vulnerable. This fragility results not only from local failures, but also from global dynamics, external funding, foreign interference, and the ideological onslaught of neoliberalism. Given our stance on progressive internationalism, the ANC therefore remains deeply concerned about the developments in the Middle East as well as in Sudan. The ANC will continue to engage all parties who wish to approach, and our stance will be consistent. Respect for the law, respect for all people, respect for national sovereignty, and the resolution of international and national disputes through negotiation. Again, we thank FES for partnering with us and hosting this colloquium. We thank you because you continue to respect our right to our own perspective in such a way that we do not feel that you want us to be your appendages. That our solidarity is premised on the shared progressive values of a just world and not cohesion into an agenda that is antithetical to South Africa's and Africa's interests. We thank all participants who contributed to this lively debate. We thank our subcommittee led by the DSG, one of International Relations, and all members who participate in that. I think in many years, I've said to the subcommittee, we now can feel the International Relations subcommittee of the ANC is hard at work. And we recognize that it's through the dedication of the DSG and the team, and we took a right decision to elevate the coordination of this work to an official in the top 7. So this work is very important because international relations is fluid. Things change all the time, every hour, every minute. And I think we are now seized with international developments and engaging in fruitful discussions to shape the discourse and represent the ANC in many platforms, even in the liberation movement and many other platforms where we participate. So indeed, this is good work. So comrades, we applaud you for that. I had comrade veteran was saying that I missed a lot, and I really missed a lot because when I arrived here, the COSAS SG was speaking non-stop, which is good. So I came from a very strenuous conference of the workers, but we are going back there tomorrow again. And then we had a very strenuous meeting yesterday with the SACP. And then I had to meet another party before I came here. But we are there, comrades, and representing our perspectives there in these forums, and as you do the good work this side. And it is so good to see as many young people as possible in the discussions. It means the future is bright. Thank you very much, comrades. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We started with South Africa.